Welcome to Chrissy and Lynn's POE channel. This is a fairly new channel and we're gonna be sharing different POE builds and tips and tricks. If you like what you see, please give us likes and subscribe. We will also be streaming on YouTube. Come hang out with us. Today we're going to be sharing a Araceli's Fang Summoner build. This is a fairly well-known build that's been around for a while, but we're pushing this build into the absolute endgame and to make it as powerful as possible. The build has potential to go over 43 million DPS against Uber bosses, but we've decided to settle at 35 million for more survivability. With this setup, you can afford to make many mistakes against the hardest bosses throughout the game and still be able to kill them at ease. We will be showing the 43 million DPS version and the 10 Divine super budget friendly version in a separate video, so please make sure you check them out as well. And with our Flasks, we can also avoid Ignite. The build is obviously all Uber bosses viable, and all you needed is a unique dagger, Araceli's Fang, to be able to start this build. The playstyle is very relaxing. You just summon spiders and then run around. The spiders will do the hard work for you. The Ascendancy choice is Necromancer, because Necromancer has a higher ceiling comparing to Occultist. If you really want the explosion from an Occultist, you can still get the Profane Boom from the Forbidden Flash and Flame Jewel. We will be showcasing all of the Uber bosses and Wave 30 Simulacrum at the end of this video. The Ascendancy points, we're taking Mistress of Sacrifice, so our Bone Offering can also affect ourselves, giving us a lot of block chance. And the 40% increased skill effect duration will make our spiders last longer. Next is the Commander of Darkness. Since we are running many auras, the 3% increased attacks and cast speed can stack up to somewhere around 20 to 30%. And the 30% elemental resistance also helps a lot since we're using a lot of unique gears. Next, we're taking Mindless Aggression and Unnatural Strings. Unnatural Strings in 3.19 get reworked from +2 Manian gems to Manians have Unholy Might. And this is actually a really big buff to the spiders since they cannot benefit from +2 Manian gems anyways. Unholy Might gives us extra chaos damage based on the physical damage, which works perfectly with the spiders. Here are all of the gems and links for our setup. I will talk briefly about decisions we made on each of these alternate quality gems. If you're not curious, you can simply take a screenshot and move on. First of all, it's the Anomalous Predator. It gives us reduced chaos resistance against enemies that are being marked. Second is the Divergent Melee Splash. The original quality will have reduced damage on the splash portion on each of the melee strike. The Divergent version will not have the reduced damage on the splash. The Awaken Multi-Strike is simply one of the strongest and most expensive support gem, as you will be making one extra strike. Divergent Tempest Shield will give you extra chance to block, attack, and spell damage. Divergent Malevolence will give you extra damage against elements, which is perfect for poison damage dealt by our spiders. Anomalous Convocation will give our minions extra movement speed. Divergent Cyclone will give ourselves extra movement speed. Awaken Cast while channeling will give us immunity to stun while we are channeling Cyclone. Divergent Flash Offering will give our spiders extra attack speed, and Divergent Bone Offering will give us extra block chance against attack and spell damage. Divergent Animated Guardian will give our Animated Guardian extra life. And Anomalous Feeding Frenzy will give your Animated Guardian 1% of life every time it hits an enemy. It is very essential to our Animated Guardian survivability. In this section, we'll talk about gears and some of the popular alternatives and the reason why we're choosing these gears over the others. First of all, it's our mandatory weapon, Araceli's Fang. Without this weapon, you will not be able to summon spiders. The recommended enchantment will be 1% of area effect per every 4% of quality. Second is our shield, and it's an obvious choice, the Squire. It's a pretty pricey shield, but it will provide us a tremendous amount of DPS boost. If you don't have enough currency for the Squire, the Aegis Aurora is also a very popular choice. It's not as much damage, but it will give you a tremendous amount of tankiness. If you're using the Aegis Aurora, you will be not using the Eldritch Battery. In this case, you will need to link your Cyclone with Life Tap. In a Elixir scenario, if you can't even afford an Aegis Aurora, we recommend a rare shield with high armor and suffix of recover a percentage amount of life when you block. Next is a helmet. This is more of a controversy decision. We are using Devouring Diadem. The reason being this shield gives us a lot of mana reservation and Eldritch Battery. Mana reservation will enable more aura, and Eldritch Battery will save us a lot of passive points, so we don't need to go all the way to the right side of the passive trees. It also gives us a lot of dexterity for attribute requirements. The level 15 Feast of Flash gives us a nice sustain on recovery since we always have corpse on the ground. In the endgame scenario, we recommend an enchantment of Flash offering granted additional attack speed, and the Corrupted Implicit can be +2 level of socketed AoE gem or aura gem. Another very popular helmet is the Ancient Skull. It is a very cheap 1C unique, and it'll give the spider a lot of damage. The downside being you cannot carry any Spectre or Animated Guardian. When you use Ancient Skull, whenever your minion deals a critical strike, they will take chaos damage over time. So it's very easy for them to kill themselves even with the controlled destruction support. Next is our body armor. We want that you can apply an additional curse, the effect of non-curse aura, and effect of offerings. When you have enough currency, you can make non-curse auras and effect of offerings elevated, but it is not priority in our upgrades. Next is our gloves. Anything with the cursed enemies with Temporal Chain and Despair will work for the build. The reason why we're picking Hands of the High Templar is because it gives us a lot of life, resist, and armors. Another very popular choice will be Ascendancy's Gentle Touch. It provides an explosion effect on enemies cursed by Temporal Chain. But the clear speed of this build is already very fast, so we decided to exchange the explosion effect with more life, armor, and elemental resistances. And another very popular choice is the Grave Bind. It will help you sustain your spiders more easily, so you don't have to keep summoning them. One final alternative is the Trial Grip with 4 white sockets, as each of the white socket will provide chaos damage to our spiders. But it is very hard to find a Trial Grip with 4 white socket, yet also corrupted with the 2 curses that we want. Next is our boots. We're using Corpse Walker to continuously generate corpse as we move around. This will make sure we always have enough corpse for flash and bone offering. However, the corpse generated on this boot is still not enough when we want to summon spiders, so we still have a separate Desecrate gem when we want to summon spiders. The recommended enchantment on this boot is recover 2% of life if you were hit recently. For the amulet, we are using Ashes of the Stars, as it provides a lot of mana reservation and quality to all the gems. We are using a lot of alternate quality gems, and Ashes of the Star is perfect for that. The recommended anointment is Whispers of Doom. It gives us 1 more curse. If you can't afford Ashes of the Stars, we recommend Oath's Uprising with Haste, Determination, or Malevolence has no reservation. The ring we're using is 3.19's League item dropped from the Lake of Calandra. It provides a lot of resistance And as long as your resistance is capped, look for as many minion deals increased damage as possible. In a future league, when this ring is not available anymore, you can still cap your resist using large cluster jewels, which we'll go over next. The build is obviously Lash of Ablation. It will allow us to have multiple offerings functioning simultaneously. Now comes the Flasks. The first one is the Writhing Jar. We will utilize this flask to be able to summon spiders when there are no monsters around. Next, we have a Life Flask. We recommend instant recovery when on low life, and recover an additional 40% of Flask's life. Next, we have a Topaz Flask with immunity to ignite, and a Sapphire Flask with 48 reduced effect of curses, and a Ruby Flask with increased armor. The prefix on all of these three flasks should be gain charges when you are hit by an enemy. The reason we use these resistance flasks is not because we can cap our resistance without them. The last cold, fire, and lightning damage taken is simply equal to increasing our maximum resistance, so it provides an outstanding tankiness. For maximum DPS, you can replace one of these flasks with a Bottle of Faith. After the gears and the flasks, we'll talk about the jewels. First of all, we're using 3 large cluster jewels with 12 passive skills, which makes our passive tree very straightforward. All of the damage are from these cluster jewels. The most important mod is the 35% increased effect. This makes each of the small passive points deal around 13% increased damage, and it'll add up to be crazy amount of increased damage. As you can see, we have 844% of increased damage, and most of it are coming from our cluster jewels. This kind of cluster jewels used to be very expensive, but it's gotten much easier to make in 3.19 because now we are able to fracture cluster jewels from harvest crabs. All the mods that are valuable, if you have budget, you can pick something that has life, dexterity, increased attacks and cast speed for minions, and chaos resistances. For all of the jewel sockets that we pass by in our passive tree, we're putting in a Ghastly Eye Jewel. The important mods are Minions deal increased damage if you use a Minion skill recently. Also, Minions deal physical damage or chaos damage can also improve our DPS, but at the same time, we will try to cap our resistance on these jewels. And one of these jewels needs to have corrupted blood cannot be inflicted on you. The Forbidden Flash and Flame Jewel, we're using the Void Beacon from the Occultist. This will give our enemies minus chaos resistance, which will help our DPS with the spiders. We're also using an Anonymous Gaze Ghastly Eye Jewel. This unique jewel will give 6% damage over time multiplier per Ghastly Eye Jewel affecting you, up to a maximum of 30%. That's why we want to put in as many Ghastly Eye Jewels in our jewel sockets as possible. Here we also put in an Impossible Escape in the radius of Imbalance Guard. And we're taking the Soul of Steel, which gives us a lot of armor, and 1% to all maximum elemental resistance, and the Prismatic Skin with 2% to all maximum elemental resistance. So as you can see, our maximum resistance is 79, 78, and 78. Aside from the large cluster jewels, we're taking an additional small cluster jewel with an Enduring Composure, as it'll gain 1 endurance charge every second if we are hit by an enemy. This will give us maximum endurance charge whenever we are hit. This mechanic is so broken that I put it into every build that allows it. Lastly, our choice of Watcher's Eye is additional physical damage reduction, while affected by Determination, and unaffected by Bleeding, while affected by Malevolence. The passive tree is super straightforward. Aside from these 2 minion clusters that we pass by, everything else we're taking are just life, armor, and this aura reservation cluster. Everything else is just cluster jewels. The very important masteries are 20% effect of offering, and some minions accuracy rating, Since Viper Strike is an attack, so your spiders do have a chance to miss their attack. Determination's Aura Reservation Efficiency. Auras from your skills have 10% increased effect, life, and more life. For Pantheons, we're taking Soul of the Brian King for Cannot Be Frozen, and the Soul of Flasks that gives us life flask gains recharges every 3 seconds. And since our Rising Jar is a life flask, this will ensure us never run out of flasks to summon spiders. The gear from the animated Guardians also provide us with various buffs. First is the Kingmaker. It is the #1 go-to weapon for most of the Manian builds. It gives us Fortification, which is a very nice defensive layer, and Calling Strike. Second is the Crown of the Tyrant. The nearby enemies have -10 to all resistances. Also applies to Chaos Resistance, so that is a very nice damage buff. And you can also make the socket to white socket, which gives us Chaos flat damage to our spiders. For the body armor, we're using the garb of the Ephemeral. The biggest feature is nearby enemies cannot deal critical strike, and your AG's action speed also cannot be modified to below base value, which will allow it to stick close to us more easily. For the synthesis implicits, we can find chaos resistances and percentage life. For the glove and the boot, we can just find any rare item with chaos resistances and percentage life. Note that it's best to have immunity to corrupted blood on our gloves. It is a suffix from the Delph items. So this is all we have for this build guide. Feel free to chat with us in the comments section and let us know if you want more videos like this. Please enjoy the rest of the bossing showcase and our Wave 30 Simulacrum. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!